The Happiness Hypothesis, by Jonathan Haidt. Introduction. Imagine you're riding a horse for the very first time. Not one of those pony rides at a carnival, where a teenager leads you around in a circle. I mean, really riding. It's just you and this enormous, powerful animal beneath you. You're on a narrow trail, carved into the side of a steep hill. To your left is a wall of rock, to your right, a dizzying drop. Suddenly, the path takes a sharp left turn. But your horse keeps walking straight, right toward the edge. Panic seizes you. You know you need to pull the reins to steer left, but you freeze. For 5 critical seconds, you do nothing at all, bracing for the fall. And then, nothing happens. The horse, calm as ever, simply turns the corner on its own, following the path as it has 100 times before. It knew exactly what it was doing. It didn't need you. In fact, it barely noticed you were there. That feeling? That moment of realizing you're not fully in control, that you're just a passenger on a much larger, more powerful creature with a mind of its own, that is the single most important metaphor for understanding your own mind. In his groundbreaking book, The Happiness Hypothesis, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt takes us on a journey through 10 of the world's greatest ancient ideas about happiness and meaning. He puts them to the test of modern science, and what he discovers is nothing short of revolutionary. This isn't just another self-help book filled with empty promises. It's a guide to the very architecture of your mind, a user's manual you were never given. Haidt has sold millions of copies not because he offers easy answers, but because he gives us the one tool we truly need, a correct understanding of our divided selves. By the end of our time together, you'll understand why you sometimes act against your own best interests, why you see the faults in others so clearly but not in yourself, and why lasting happiness seems so elusive. More importantly, you'll learn the formula for a happy and meaningful life, a formula that doesn't require you to conquer your inner beast, but to finally understand and work with it. The secret to happiness isn't about winning an internal war, it's about learning to ride. Book summary. So let's start with that fundamental division, the one that explains almost everything about our struggles, our frustrations, and our moments of weakness. Jonathan Haidt asks us to imagine that our mind is split into 2 parts. One part is the rider, your conscious, controlled, verbal thinking. It's the part of you that sets goals, makes plans, and worries about the future. It's the voice in your head, the one you think of as you. But the rider is perched atop the second part, the elephant. The elephant is everything else. It's your gut feelings, your emotions, your intuitions, your habits. It's the vast, ancient, and powerful automatic system that has been shaped by millions of years of evolution. The elephant is what feels pleasure and pain, what gets scared, what falls in love. And here's the crucial insight: the rider is not the one in charge. The rider can try to steer, to guide, to pull on the reins. But if the 6-ton elephant wants to go in a different direction, the elephant is going to win. Have you ever made a New Year's resolution to eat healthier, only to find yourself reaching for a cookie a week later? That was your rider making a plan, and your elephant wanting immediate pleasure. Have you ever known you should study for a test, but instead found yourself scrolling through your phone for an hour? Rider versus elephant. Have you ever known exactly what you should say in a difficult conversation, but in the heat of the moment, your emotions took over and you said something you regretted? Rider versus elephant. This division isn't a flaw, it's a feature of how our minds were built. For most of evolutionary history, the elephant was all we needed. It made quick, automatic decisions that kept our ancestors alive. The rider, our ability for conscious reasoning and long-term planning, is a relatively new upgrade, like a tiny navigator placed on the elephant's back to offer advice. The rider can see farther down the road, it can read maps, and it can learn from others. But it cannot force the elephant to do anything against its will. As the philosopher David Hume brilliantly put it, reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions. The rider evolved to serve the elephant. Once you grasp this single metaphor, so many human mysteries begin to make sense. Take, for instance, the strange and often frustrating way our minds work when it comes to good and bad experiences. The elephant has what Haidt calls a powerful negativity bias. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. If our ancestors were walking through the savannah, which was more important to react to, a patch of delicious berries or the rustle in the grass that might be a lion? Missing the berries means you go hungry for a bit. Missing the lion means your lunch. Evolution designed the elephant to be hypersensitive to threats, dangers, and bad news. This is why a single criticism can stick with you all day, while a dozen compliments are forgotten in an hour. It's why you can have a wonderful day, but one negative interaction can ruin it. It's a simple and powerful rule of our psychology. Bad is stronger than good. Our minds are like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. This negativity bias is amplified by another quirk of the elephant, the hedonic treadmill. Hedonic is just a fancy word for relating to pleasure. We all think that if we just achieve that one big goal, get into the right college, land the perfect job, make a certain amount of money, we'll finally be happy. But we're wrong. Psychologists studied lottery winners and people who had become paralyzed in accidents. A year after these life-altering events, both groups had largely returned to their previous baseline level of happiness. The lottery winner gets a rush of joy, but quickly gets used to their new life. The new car, the big house, it all becomes normal. They've adapted. Their expectations have reset, and now they are back on the treadmill, needing something even bigger to feel that same rush. The person who suffered the accident is devastated, but they too begin to adapt. They find new joys, set new goals, and their happiness level climbs back toward where it was before. This is the adaptation principle. We get used to almost everything. Pleasure comes not from having things, but from making progress toward goals. The journey is what excites the elephant, not the destination. Once you arrive, the elephant gets bored and looks for a new journey. So, for thousands of years, wise thinkers from both the East and the West looked at this state of affairs and came to a logical conclusion. Buddha, the Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, they all said the same thing. If striving for things in the external world doesn't bring lasting happiness, then the only logical answer is to stop striving. Happiness must come from within. They taught that we must break our emotional attachments to people, events, and possessions. If you don't care about the outcome, you can never be disappointed. This is the ancient happiness hypothesis. Happiness comes from within and cannot be found by making the world conform to your desires. It's a powerful idea. And it's partly true. Changing your mindset is often far more effective than trying to change your circumstances. But Haidt argues that this is a profound and beautiful error. It's an overreaction. Yes, many external things don't bring lasting happiness. But to say that nothing external matters is to ignore a mountain of modern scientific evidence. This leads us to Haidt's updated happiness formula, which is one of the most important ideas in the entire book. The formula is simple. H equals S plus C plus V. H stands for your level of happiness. S is your biological set point. This is the cortical lottery you won or lost at birth. Because of your genes, you have a natural range of happiness. Some people are born with a sunnier disposition, their elephant is just naturally more cheerful. Others are predisposed to anxiety and pessimism. This set point accounts for a huge portion of our day-to-day happiness, which is why some people can be happy anywhere, and others find a way to be miserable even in paradise. But your genes are not your destiny. They just define your potential range. What determines where you fall within that range are C and V. C stands for the conditions of your life. These are facts about your life like your age, your race, your wealth, and whether you're married. The ancient wisdom was mostly right about these. Most conditions don't have a huge effect on your long-term happiness because of the hedonic treadmill. Being rich, beautiful, or living in a sunny climate doesn't make people as happy as we think. However, modern psychology has discovered a few conditions that we never fully adapt to. These are the external things that are actually worth striving for. What are they? First, noise. Especially noise that is variable and unpredictable. Your mind can never fully tune it out. Second, a long commute, particularly one that involves traffic. It's a daily dose of stress that you never get used to. Third, a lack of control. Feeling like you have control over your life is a fundamental need. People in nursing homes who are given a simple choice, like which plant to care for, are happier and even live longer than those who have everything done for them. And fourth, and most importantly, relationships. This one is so critical that it trumps almost everything else. We are ultra-social creatures. We never fully adapt to conflict with others, especially those we live or work with. A bad relationship is a constant source of stress and misery. So, the first correction to the ancient wisdom is that some external conditions do matter. It is wise to structure your life to get these conditions right. But the real key to lasting happiness lies in the final letter of the formula, V. V stands for voluntary activities. These are the things you choose to do, like exercising, meditating, learning a new skill, or going on vacation. Unlike conditions, which are constant and fade into the background, voluntary activities are intentional. They require your attention and effort. And because of this, they are the most powerful tool we have for increasing our happiness. But which activities work best? Haidt, drawing on the work of psychologists Martin Seligman and Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, makes a crucial distinction between two types of enjoyment, pleasures and gratifications. Pleasures are delights of the senses and the body. A good meal, a warm bath, a massage. They feel great, but they fade quickly. If you eat a whole pint of ice cream, the first spoonful is amazing. The last is just meh. You adapt. Gratifications, on the other hand, are activities that fully engage you. They challenge you. They make you draw on your strengths and lose your sense of self. Csikszentmihalyi calls this state flow. It's what artists feel when they're painting, what musicians feel when they're playing, what an athlete feels when they're in the zone. In a state of flow, the rider and the elephant are in perfect harmony, working together on a challenging task. Time seems to disappear. You are completely absorbed. Gratifications are the key to V. And the best gratifications are those that use your signature strengths. Are you curious? Kind? Creative? A leader? The secret is to find what you're naturally good at, and then find ways to use those strengths in your work, your hobbies, and in service to others. Doing an act of kindness provides a much more lasting boost to happiness than indulging in a simple pleasure. This gives us the revised happiness hypothesis. Happiness comes not just from within, but from getting the conditions of your life right and filling your life with voluntary activities, especially gratifications that use your strengths. But this still leaves a huge piece of the puzzle missing. Even if we get our inner world and our activities right, we can still feel empty. Why? Because we are not islands. We are, as Haidt says, ultra-social. Think of bees in a hive. The survival of each bee depends on the hive. Haidt argues that human beings are, in a sense, part bee. We were shaped by evolution not just to compete as individuals, but to cooperate in groups. This is where the principle of reciprocity comes in. It's the golden rule, found in almost every culture: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Haidt calls reciprocity the basic currency of social life. It's a deep, powerful instinct. We see this beautifully illustrated in the opening scene of The Godfather. A man, Bonacera, comes to Don Corleone to ask for a favor. He wants revenge on the men who beat his daughter. But he tries to pay for it with money. Corleone is insulted. He explains that if Bonacera had come to him in friendship, as a part of the family, the favor would have been a gift. But a gift creates a bond, an obligation. By accepting the gift of justice, Bonacera is now woven into Corleone's web of reciprocity. We understand this scene intuitively because our minds are built for it. We feel gratitude when someone helps us, and a desire for vengeance when someone hurts us. These emotions are the engine of reciprocity, enforcing the tit-for-tat strategy that allows us to build trust and cooperate. And what is the primary tool for enforcing reciprocity in large groups? Gossip. We tend to think of gossip as a petty, negative thing. But from an evolutionary perspective, gossip is a miracle. It's what allows us to keep track of who is a trustworthy partner and who is a cheater. It's a social policing mechanism. Gossip, paired with our instinct for reciprocity, allows karma to work here on Earth. What goes around, comes around, because everyone is talking about what you did. If we're so perfectly designed for social life, why are we so often in conflict? Why are we so judgmental and self-righteous? This brings us back to our divided self. The writer, our inner lawyer, is brilliant at one thing: justifying whatever the elephant wants to believe. We are all, Haidt says, natural-born hypocrites. We are masters at seeing the tiniest speck in our neighbor's eye, while remaining completely blind to the giant log in our own. Psychologists have a name for this: naive realism. It's the belief that I see the world as it truly is. Anyone who disagrees with me must be biased, stupid, or evil. We judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. When someone else cuts us off in traffic, they're a jerk. When we cut someone off, it's because we're in a hurry and we didn't see them. Our inner lawyer is a master of spinning a story where we are the innocent hero, and the other person is the villain. This leads to what psychologist Roy Baumeister calls the myth of pure evil. We love to believe that evil is something external, that villains are purely malevolent, and that their victims are purely innocent. It simplifies the world into a battle of good versus evil, with us firmly on the side of the angels. This tendency is the root of so much human conflict, from marital spats to international wars. Both sides are utterly convinced of their own righteousness. The great sages, from Jesus to Buddha, warned us about this. First take the log out of your own eye, Jesus said, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Acknowledging our own hypocrisy is the first step toward compassion and understanding. So far, we have a formula for happiness: H equals S plus C plus V, and an understanding of our social nature. But there's still one final piece. What about a sense of purpose, a feeling that our life means something? This is where Haidt introduces his most mind-bending idea, a third dimension of human social experience. For most of our lives, we operate on two dimensions. There's the horizontal dimension of closeness, friends and family on one side, strangers and enemies on the other. And there's the vertical dimension of hierarchy, people above us in status, and people below us. But what happens when you witness an act of unexpected kindness, courage, or compassion? When you see someone perform an act of moral beauty, you feel something. A warm, open feeling in your chest. A feeling of being uplifted. Haidt calls this emotion elevation. It's the opposite of disgust. It makes you want to be a better person, to connect with others, to be more loving. And what happens when you stand before something vast and overwhelming, like the Grand Canyon at sunset, or the starry sky on a clear night? You feel a sense of awe. Awe is the emotion we feel when we encounter something vast that we can't easily process with our existing mental structures. It makes our sense of self feel small and insignificant. Elevation and awe are the doorways to this third dimension, which Haidt calls the dimension of divinity or sacredness. He's not necessarily talking about God. He's talking about a fundamental human capacity to experience life as having a sacred dimension. It's the feeling that some things are noble and others are degrading. It's the feeling that your life is part of something much, much bigger than yourself. When we lose our sense of self, even for a moment, we can connect with this larger whole. This is the core of mystical experience in every religion. It's the feeling of becoming, as one writer put it, dissolved into something complete and great. This brings us to the final, most profound version of the happiness hypothesis. Happiness is not something you can find, acquire, or achieve directly. It's not something you can get by looking inside yourself, or by chasing external goals. The ultimate truth is that happiness comes from between. It comes from the relationship between you and others. It comes from the relationship between you and your work. And it comes from the relationship between you and something larger than yourself. Purpose in life comes from achieving what Haidt calls cross-level coherence. It's when the different levels of your existence, your physical self, your psychological self, and your socio-cultural self, all align. It's when your personal goals are in harmony with your relationships and your values. It's when your rider and your elephant are riding in the same direction, toward a destination that you both find meaningful. Think of a plant. You can't make a plant grow. You can't command it to be happy. All you can do is get the conditions right, the right soil, the right amount of sun and water. If you get the relationships right, the plant will flourish on its own. We are the same. Get the relationships right in your life, and a sense of purpose and meaning will emerge as a natural byproduct. Love and work are the sun and water of a meaningful life. And finding a connection to something larger than yourself, be it religion, nature, science, or humanity, is the soil in which that life can take root and grow. That is the great synthesis of Jonathan Haidt's work. A journey that started with a simple metaphor of a rider and an elephant ends with a profound understanding of what it means to live a complete and fully human life. Commentary. As we step back and look at the grand tapestry Jonathan Haidt has woven in the happiness hypothesis, what stands out most is its profound sense of balance. It's a book that refuses to give simple answers, because life is not simple. Instead, it offers a framework for thinking, a way to hold opposing truths in your mind at the same time. The central metaphor of the rider and the elephant is, in my view, one of the most powerful psychological tools ever created. It's not just a clever analogy, it's a key to self-compassion. For years, you've probably beaten yourself up for your lack of willpower, for procrastinating, for saying the wrong thing. But once you understand that your rider is just a tiny advisor on the back of a giant, emotional elephant, you can stop blaming yourself. You can see that the challenge isn't about mind over matter, it's about learning to understand, train, and cooperate with a powerful creature that has its own wisdom. The goal is not to conquer the elephant, but to befriend it. The book also masterfully balances ancient wisdom with modern science. It shows deep respect for the profound psychological insights of figures like Buddha, Jesus, and the Stoics, but it doesn't accept their teachings on faith. It puts them under the microscope of empirical research, keeping what works and gently setting aside what doesn't. This approach gives us the best of both worlds, the depth of millennia-old traditions, and the rigor of 21st-century psychology. And finally, it finds a balance between the Eastern ideal of acceptance and the Western ideal of striving. Happiness isn't purely an inside job, nor is it a prize you win by conquering the external world. It's a delicate dance between changing yourself and changing your world. It's knowing when to let go, and when to lean in. So, how can you start applying these profound ideas to your own life, right now? It can feel overwhelming, so let's make it simple. Here are 3 small actions you can take this week. First, just become an observer of your own mind. For one day, try to notice the rider and the elephant in action. When you feel a sudden urge, a pang of anger, or a wave of anxiety, that's the elephant. When you hear that little voice in your head trying to reason, plan, or make excuses, that's the rider. Don't try to change anything. Don't judge. Just watch. This simple act of observation is the first step toward building a better working relationship between them. Second, find one gratification. Look up the list of signature strengths. You can find them online for free. Identify one of your top strengths. Maybe it's curiosity, or kindness, or a love of learning. Then, this week, intentionally plan one activity that uses that strength. If it's curiosity, visit a museum or watch a documentary on a topic you know nothing about. If it's kindness, do a favor for a friend without being asked. Notice how this feels. Notice how the feeling is different, perhaps deeper and more lasting, than a simple pleasure like eating a piece of cake. And third, look for the between. Think about one important relationship in your life. It could be with a person, with a hobby, or with your work. Ask yourself, how can I strengthen this connection? The answer to a meaningful life isn't a cosmic secret hidden on a mountaintop. It's right here, in the quality of the connections you nurture every day. That was a summary of the happiness hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. We've touched on the major landmarks of his incredible intellectual journey today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you travel the territory yourself. The true power of this book lies in the quiet moments of reflection it provokes, when a specific story or a single sentence resonates with your own life in a way you didn't expect. This summary is your map, designed to help you decide if this journey is one you want to take. If anything we've talked about has sparked your curiosity, I urge you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning facts, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself, your relationships, and your place in the world. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas that have shaped the world's most successful and thoughtful people, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and keep growing together.